All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you all. Please. Have a seat. The Friday recorded audience, my favorite, Albert, is here with me today.
Albert, thank you.
On a momentous day in America and for this administration, largely because this administration has built a policy around tariffs, as you know, and the Supreme Court just took a sledgehammer to that policy. This isn't just economic policy. This is diplomacy, international diplomacy. I mean, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, I know.
What?
I know, he's the president. He is wielding this tariff thing in such a way to exact all sorts of concessions all around the world. And so when you look at even as he tries to claim that he's brought peace to the world, excuse me, I've got this cold a little bit. When he claims that he's brought peace, what he's doing is oftentimes leveraging tariff threat to get concessions from whatever countries he's dealing with. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that this is a central policy, and the realities concerning the constitutionality of this central policy are now laid bare. Essentially, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, and it will stop immediately. The Supreme Court, in no uncertain terms, I mean, it wasn't a 5-4 decision. It was 6-3. They have reshaped presidential power in this administration, in my judgment, and they will alter U.S. trade policy, and as I suggested, it goes beyond that. I mean, yes, it's an economic centerpiece, but it's also a diplomatic centerpiece, because we have pursued foreign relations in almost every way, swinging this tariff threat around. And it's been effective because the Supreme Court to this point has let Trump run amok. But today, that stops. And the impact of this will be immediate. I mean, 60% of the effective tariffs evaporate. And I'm looking at the overall effective tariff rate, which is now 17%, is going to drop to about 9%. That's $175 billion, maybe a little more than that, in projected annual tariff revenue that is at best uncertain, and I think more realistically, going away. So this isn't a policy adjustment. This is a structural reset on the part of this administration that they'll have to do. And again, this impulsive economic on-off switch that Donald Trump has had control of, this is going to starkly and suddenly be changed. Supply chains have shifted as a result of this. There has been market reaction internationally to this. As you know, the farmers in the U.S. have paid an immense price for this, for the illegal imposition of tariffs. Many industries and many companies and businesses in the U.S. have paid immensely, and paid to the point that some of them have gone under. Many small businesses have gone under. It wasn't just the withering tariff imposition, which is a tax. That's exactly what the Supreme Court has said. But it was also the uncertainty, not knowing, not being able to plan, because the impulsive whims of the mad king left these tariffs to be imposed in such a way that one didn't know hour to hour how it was all going to shake out. So Chief Justice John Roberts made the constitutional boundary clear in this decision. Congress and Congress alone has the authority to levy taxes and duties. This is about trade, but it's also about power. Here's how the news broke this morning. We'll hear from, this is Kara Phillips, and based on her jacket, She's just come from the viewing party at Dancing with the Stars. Here she is.
This is an ABC News special report.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision involving President Trump's tariff policies and whether the president exceeded his authority with sweeping reciprocal tariffs on other nations, the centerpiece of his economic agenda. Let's get right to ABC's senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin, your thoughts?
Kira, this is one of the most significant decisions on presidential power in decades. The Supreme Court, just moments ago, in a 6-3 decision authored by Chief Justice John Roberts, invalidated most of President Trump's tariffs. 70% of the tariffs he's imposed so far in his second term here have been under the law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. It was written in 1977. He claimed it gave him unlimited power to tariff any country at any level for as long as he wants. And Roberts said the law simply does not give him that authority. Congress, under the Constitution, has the power to tax Americans, collect tariffs. There's no mention of tariffs in that law, and the Supreme Court said he cannot do what he's done, Kira.
So that is the news as it broke this morning, and I'm so glad that what was just mentioned there buttresses essentially what I was saying before, which is this is not just economics. This is power. Donald Trump has wielded tariffs to give the executive and to give America incredible power, hour to hour, based on his whims and his impulses. He literally imposed tariffs on Canada because he didn't like the way they were treating us. That was literally the articulated reason. It's absurd. So under this Emergency Powers Act and under the guise of an emergency, he was able to do this, and now the Supreme Court has just pulled the curtain back and said, come on, there's no emergency and you don't have this power at this time. Here's some other analysis from CNN's legal eagle.
As I said, this is a huge setback for the president of the United States. And this has been a traditionally conservative Supreme Court, but they ruled that all of these tariffs that Trump has imposed over these many months are illegal. It's a big deal.
Well, Wolf, it's a monumental ruling. And the bottom line is that the tariffs Donald Trump announced back in April on Liberation Day are gone. They have been ruled illegal by this U.S. Supreme Court. An interesting array of justices here. In the majority, ruling that the tariffs are illegal is Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Gorsuch, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, three conservatives who teamed up with the three liberal justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson, to rule these tariffs unconstitutional. The dissenters are Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh. And the basis for the ruling is this: Congress, not the president, Congress typically holds the tariff power. Now, Congress passed this law back in 1977 called the International Economic Emergencies Act. And Donald Trump tried to use that law to say, well, I'm declaring an international economic emergency, therefore I'm imposing tariffs. But the majority here said, no, that law does not authorize you to impose tariffs, and no, there is not a valid international economic emergency here. So the end result, and we are still going through this, but the end result is that Donald Trump's tariffs have been struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. But really important point I want to make, Donald Trump has said, various White House officials have said, if he loses on this basis, he will try to re-implement other tariffs through other laws, which he can try to do. However, those other laws are much more restrictive. They would not allow him to apply the type of sweeping, massive, across the globe tariffs that he tried to impose here, but have now been struck down. Look, Donald Trump said these tariffs are the single most important thing he has done in his presidency. He said that, and now they've been struck down by the court.
So you're right. The administration has.
Well, that I think is likely to produce a reaction from this White House and in Donald Trump that is quite intense, and I'll have that reaction for you immediately. I'll have it for you in just a few seconds. Before I get to it, I do want to mention one thing. Of course, smash the like button and all that stuff that people say when they have shows like this
with
one.
Your iron rod.
It is important in the world of YouTube to get the thumbs up, and it costs you nothing. And please subscribe to the show and hit the notification bell. But what I wanted to tell you is that there is a new technology that we are very much part of. There is a new I'm just becoming aware of it, social media platform, and we are, I think, we've got to be one of the first ones on it. It's called Facebook, and we have a Facebook page, apparently.
What?
I know. Now, the way it works is, I guess you have this Facebook thing, and you go there, and you can, it's a lot of what the younger kids are doing. And when I say younger kids, I mean 60-year-olds. And you can interact with people. You can go to our Facebook page. You understand how it works, Albert? You're a younger person.
Yeah, I'm still navigating my way through it, but I'm clicking my way through. All I had to go is to facebook.com/The Mark Thompson Show, and I just figured it out from there.
Oh, that's good.
Albert, thank you.
So it's it's facebook.com/The Mark Thompson Show. So this is a place where we're going to be posting videos and content, and you can interact with the show, and it's going to become a more robust place to interact. Now, there is a fan page on Facebook, too. We don't have anything to do with that, but you're welcome to join that. But we'd love for you to support our Facebook page. So I'm being told, push the Facebook page. So I just pushed it, okay? And I'll push it again.
Yeah, I might post it on the fan page. That's led just by the Remarkables. I might post it on there, too. So
yeah,
feel free to join.
Is Facebook similar to MySpace? I don't know. Someday it will be talked about.
There's no top friends on this one. It's missing from the MySpace days. No top 6 friends here.
No top 6 friends. We'll still we'll have awards for the most active sharers and contributors on the Facebook page. Anyway, that is something else going on. Now, on to Trump reaction.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The news of the Supreme Court setback on tariffs, wresting the power of taxation back from Trump to Congress, it wasn't received well by this president. Go ahead, Albert.
A lot of people. That's a new record. We set a record every time. Well, thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. You can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court. And it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it. We still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that. They don't want to do the right thing. They're afraid of it. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security. And also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important, because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities, as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything, I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court, because I understand the court. I understand how they're very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained. Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said, you'll never be able, you'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years. We did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the book, and we're continuing to do so. Tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not, including India, Pakistan, big ones, nuclear, could have been nuclear. Prime Minister of Pakistan said yesterday at the great meeting that we had, the Peace Board, he said yesterday that President Trump could have saved 35 million lives by getting us to stop fighting. They were getting ready to do some bad things. But they've given us great national security, these tariffs have. And together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use them as a penalty against countries illegally sending this poison into our country to poison our youth. All of those tariffs remain. They all remain. I don't know if you know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. I guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again,
okay, let's stop for a second. They all remain. They all remain. They all remain. He says it 3 times, and he says there's no one left to appeal to. He's meandering. He's dealing with this. He's lashing out in prepared remarks. He is right about what he says, that, I use these tariffs in all these ways. Yeah, no kidding. You use these tariffs in all these ways, claiming an emergency that clearly wasn't in evidence, and it was described as not in evidence by the Supreme Court in their decision. And this is why it's a strike against the power grab that Donald Trump had using these tariffs. Again, more than an economic weapon, it's a weapon of power. And that executive power has not only been challenged, but it's been overturned. So that's part of it, and I'll play a little bit more of his reaction in a moment. And then I want to tell you something that I haven't heard anyone say. And I've been knocking around, you get all this legal analysis, and David Katz was 100% right on this decision. He predicted it a long time ago, as Katsadamas, our resident legal scholar and one of the great legal analysts in the English-speaking world. He has repeatedly said that he thought SCOTUS would rule just in the way they did. But lost in all of this, I think, is one reality, and it relates very much to political power. And I'll get to that in a moment. Also, I want to play a little bit more of Trump's comments as they've just come down within the last 20 minutes in reaction to all of this. I'll also mention that in hour 2, Mo Kelly and Michael Shure join, and we'll talk about this, obviously, as the headline of the day. But I think the brewing confrontation in Iran will be something that we'll spend some time on. The Epstein blow-up that was personified by the arrest of the former Prince Andrew. These are all things we will talk about in hour 2 of this show, and I'll get to it in just a moment. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
sorry, I get this cold. Hang on a second. Albert, say something so I can have some water. I don't know what the problem is. I get this low-grade cold. My superpowers are being drained from me, Albert.
Yeah, there's maybe the Trump administration hears that you're talking about them, and they're.
I don't know what's happening.
That's not fake. That's real.
Let me have some Coachella Valley coffee, which is always so delicious. I must tell you that my coffee this morning, I'm drinking it from the Peacefully Resist mug, which has our logo tastefully emblazoned on the backside. Peacefully Resist. All of these are at getmarkmerch.com with all of our merch, but I'm drinking the Clarity Blend today.
What?
I'm loving the Clarity Blend. When you go to CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, they are a boutique roastery. This is the finest coffee on earth. I was drinking it before they were ever on the show. They will give you tasting profiles on all of the different beans. They are hand roasted. This is organic coffee sourced from women-owned businesses and farms around the world. The Clarity Blend is the one I'm drinking today. Check it out. Check them out. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And when you check out after filling your cart with all the magic teas, spices, this is a curation that goes on at Coachella Valley Coffee that they're really proud of. And I think you're going to, if you've never been there, really enjoy so much the choices you get, and the product, I promise you, is magnificent. Half calf, everything there, again, is just a feast of deliciousness. All right, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Use our discount code MARKT at checkout, 10% off. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Put that coffee down.
You too can enjoy the magic of Coachella Valley Coffee. We continue. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Comments are coming in on the tariff decision from the Supreme
And
Court.
now, your comments.
Luis says, dude is complaining about the court he put in power. Not even they could go along with his idiocy of declaring, quote, everything a, quote, emergency. Hashtag Trump hole. Yeah. No, exactly. It was a bridge too far, even for this crazy court that's in the tank for Trump. I thought it was interesting that Kavanaugh, I'd love to break this down with Katz next week. Kavanaugh went with Trump, though. You know, I think it's revealing. Look, you know Alito and you know Thomas are going to go with Trump no matter what. I mean, they are so...
I come from regular stock.
But I think Kavanaugh... I thought he was more of a wild card. As it turns out, Gorsuch came over with Amy Coney Barrett. So, Vilma says, and Vilma is an OG of the show. Big shout out to Vilma.
Big shout out.
Is criticizing the Supreme Court for following the Constitution. Okay, help me with this, Albert. Is criticizing the Supreme Court for the following of the Constitution. Trump believes he's above the Constitution and above the law. Yeah, of course he does. I think that's exactly right. Trump does completely believe he's above that. And they're going to try to find ways to undermine this decision and for him to impose the tariffs. Now, by the way, there are tariffs that do continue. So as Trump was saying that in those press remarks, he's right. The specific tariffs on aluminum and steel, they remain. There are specific tariffs that will remain, but this sort of across-the-board tariff policy that he had, no. It was ruled illegal. And we'll get to the logistics of getting the money back in a second. Agent Kitty Feet says, unfortunately, megalomaniac nutjobs like him just get more dangerous when they react to setbacks. This is so true, and thanks for the comment.
Big shout out.
it is very true that in the setback that Trump was just delivered, and it's a body blow, let's face it, there will be a desperation and a flex, and I'm anxious about what form that will take. Now, we know in part it'll take the military thing, which he loves. He and Hegseth just can't wait to play with their toys, the military adventurism, the vision of reshaping the world. That's all going on blast. But what will he do domestically and economically with these tariffs, which also relate to foreign policy? He's wielded these tariffs as an instrument of foreign policy. What will he do? I think that comment is so right on that as he's delivered this setback, he will try to do something to lean in so as not to appear to having to endure this sort of setback he's just had to endure. Ren, thank you for the super chat. Ren says now Trump can blame his failing economy on this decision. Well, this brings me to another point, and then I'll get back to Trump. And I think this is a significant point. The tariffs were a bad idea economically, right? We know that. Many businesses went under, small businesses went under. Consumers bore the brunt of it. You just saw the Federal Reserve Bank of New York with that policy paper that I described yesterday to you, where they just came through with an analysis that stated quite starkly 90% of the tariffs are borne by American consumers, not by foreign governments, not by foreign merchants that were exporting goods that were then imported here. So we know that that was an economic burden borne by Americans. 90% of it. Again, this is study after study, but you didn't need study after study. You knew it. But I'm just saying now, this analysis at the end of a year of this Trump madness is starkly evident. So when you remove the tariffs, you'll actually have a positive effect on the economy. So if you want to think of it this way, and I think you have to think of it this way, this was actually a very good day for the American economy. This is a very good day for American businesses that import pieces of whatever they're assembling from wherever internationally. So as you digest the power setback that Donald Trump is enduring, also digest the fact that the economy that, again, he'll be held responsible for, will be helped by this decision. Donald Trump was setting fire to the American economy and to the affordability that most Americans are dealing with. And that's why it's talked about as a political thing and a political talking point. And how do we talk about affordability, et cetera? So Supreme Court did him a favor, if you want to think of it that way. They did him a favor by removing this huge weight on the American consumer and the American economy. Now, he only sees the bloody nose that they gave him. He only sees the power being taken away. But the reality is that they did him a huge favor. So when we get back to the politics of it, you now are dealing with an economy that won't necessarily sink in the ways that it was likely to sink as a result of tariffs. It also, and this is kind of a broader political point, puts the Democrats in the Democrat-Republican dialogue in this weird place. Republicans have already been in a weird place. They're not, supposedly, I mean, classically, Republicans aren't the tariff party. The Democrats are the tariff party. I mean, again, this is, classic Democrat-Republican economic policy. But Republicans now have totally changed, right? They're in the tank so hard with Trump, and Trump is all about tariffs. He's on 11, cranked up to 11 on tariffs. So now the Democrats and Republicans are both in this weird place. Do you come out for the tariffs? I mean, if you're GOP, do you claim just the power grab that has been set back by the Supreme Court if you're Democrats. I want to talk to Mo and Michael about this, but the Supreme Court did Trump a huge favor. Another example of Alito, Thomas, Kavanaugh failing to uphold the oath to the Constitution, says C.C. Ryder. More justification to impeach and remove them. Hold hearings, Democrats, gather evidence, draft articles. Well, of course you're right. I mean, you can begin impeachment proceedings. Thomas is probably the guy who is, so completely compromised and corrupted. You can find a trail of receipts with him. The purchase of the party bus or whatever the hell that thing is, it's a glorified RV. The purchase of his mother's home that was done, that was essentially cured by a wealthy investor who had, I say cured, the debt was cured by a wealthy investor who had business in front of the Supreme Court. I mean, it's a layup. The problem is, again, you need 2/3 of Congress for removal. It's just, it's a bridge too far. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, have the dialogue and focus on it. But I would talk about the corruption of the Supreme Court a lot. But on this day, even that corrupt Supreme Court, the most corrupt of them, I guess might be a way to put it, voted with Trump. But there were enough who had some scruples for Trump's power to be wrested away from him. So in that sense, it's a big day. No turnaround on the tariff damage this year, says Basic Coding. Yeah, that's why I mentioned the tariff damage is real. Many small businesses went under as a result of tariff policy. And you didn't even know what the tariff policy was. One day it's 10%, the next day it's 30%. Vietnam had a 45% tariff, and then Trump got a promise from Vietnam that they were going to waive all kinds of restrictions and processes associated with greenlighting the Trump resort and golf course in Vietnam. They were going to do it right away. They literally moved people in Vietnam, people who were living there. They got rid of their homes so that Trump could begin right away the resort and golf course there in Vietnam. And immediately Trump gave them tariff relief. It was a system of patronage. It was a system set up so individual countries had to come to Trump and offer things to Trump and the Trump family, things of the sort I just described, in order to get tariff relief. It was insane. Look at what the Swiss did. They were bringing him gold watches, a huge clock that's like encased in gold. It was utterly corrupt. And so Supreme Court didn't even get into that. They just got into the fact it was unconstitutional. POTUS said that the justices who shut down his unconstitutional tariff policy are, quote, very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution, says another Zoe Rose. Yeah, that's right, Zoe. And, we heard him make those remarks, and thank you for the super chat as well. Big shout out to you.
Big shout out.
Go back to Trump again, Albert. We'll pick up no tariffs on golf carts, Ole Hansen says. SCOTUS like Thomas and Alito, says Melvin, should be nervous right now should the Democrats get control over Congress. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm sure all these doctrinaire, dyed-in-the-wool, power-hungry Republicans and the GOP that is really working with a kind of wanton aggression on the economy, on dismantling government, on dismantling regulatory powers, tepid regulatory powers on things like crypto, the consumer protection agencies. These are all kinds of the EPA. These are all things that have traditionally worked as some sort of regulation. So, yeah, I suppose if the Democrats really do make a charge, then anxiety will run through the Republican Party on all of these issues that they sort of sat back and let the Project 2025 Russell Votes of this world ride herd over. Prince Andrew's arrest and the Supreme Court ruling are both helping turn the tides, says Sim. Yeah, it's a good week for justice. So I wonder if small businesses can sue the government for harm now that SCOTUS rules that tariffs are illegal. That's a cat's question. CC Ryder, yes, it will be that way that small businesses likely get money back. Big businesses have already petitioned to get the money back. There have already been, and even small businesses have already filed paperwork, legal paperwork, to get these tariffs returned.
Yeah, I believe Costco was one of the bigger ones too. They're really fighting against those tariffs.
Yeah, we've had that story here on this show. So that is something that is going on. There will be a mechanism. You hear, oh, it's such a mess that we've got to return all this tariff money. Yeah, I mean, it's the mess that the President of the United States created because everything he does is a chaotic, impulsive mess. But it will happen. There will be a mechanism for the return of that money. And again, and I'll point this out, Ole Hansen says it, thank you for this, because I made this point earlier. Farmers are hurt badly. Farmers are hurt not only badly, farmers are hurt permanently, because this is a point that we've also made on this show before. When Trump imposes these huge tariffs, he ends up in an adversarial relationship with China, the biggest consumer for our soy farmers. China immediately, remember this is during the time there was a 45% tariff, and then he was talking about 100% tariff on certainly Chinese goods. China, in return, said, screw you. We're not going to get any soybeans from you. And they developed other relationships, contractual relationships, with Brazil, was it Argentina? And those are, as I say, relationships that develop another pipeline, supply pipeline for them. They don't need, to put it bluntly, the American farmers anymore. And so Trump bails out the American farmers with tariff money that will now have to be returned. So that's more deficit money that will build up, taxpayer money, to bail him out of a stupid decision that he made. And talking about Trump making this decision that affects these American farmers this way, they get checks, but they'd rather have business on an ongoing basis. And that brings me to the final point. They will no longer have that relationship with China. They no longer have the customer. So many of these farming businesses are going to go under. That's the ripple effect of this. You can't turn tariffs on and off the way Trump did and not know that the repercussions are going to be long lasting. And he was so intense and so aggressive with the tariff madness, not knowing what it was hour to hour, the numbers as to how he got to the tariffs and the percentages and how they'd be levied. It was inexplicable. He couldn't explain it. And his people couldn't explain it. Trump can't explain much of anything, but his people, those who were economists on his team, they couldn't explain it either, because he's just making it up as he goes along. But the real world effects are dramatic and disastrous for American farmers. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Let's look at a little more of Trump's reaction this morning. This happened just in the last hour.
And great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. But you can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court. And it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it. We still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. but these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that.
He's talking about the
They don't want to
opposition,
do the right
Democrats.
thing. They're afraid of it. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security. And also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important, because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities, as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything. I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court, because I understand the court. I understand how they're very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P. Two numbers that everybody thought upon our
50,000
landslide election
first time. This is
victory
crazy.
could not be attained. Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years. And we
this
did
is
it
his.
in 1
This
year.
is this is the
They said you'll
re-rack,
never be able-
Albert,
you
of
go-
what he's kind of been claiming. You know, it's all about the Dow. I mean, they can't speak about that Dow enough. But
This is so ridiculous.
it is true.
The Dow right now is over.
Right.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing.
Yeah.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
Yes,
The
okay.
S&P at almost
Thank you, guys.
7,000.
All right, can we?
And the NASDAQ smashing records.
Every accusation is an admission, said someone. It's true. Mommy, they took my tariffs away, says Richard Delamater. That's right. I mean, again, the Supreme Court did him a huge favor. These tariffs are bad for the American economy. They're bad for the American farmers. I just took you through the scenario by which many American farmers are going to go under. They're bad for the American automakers. You can pick almost any business and see the ways in which the tariffs are going to have a negative effect on that business. So, I mean, writ large, it's really bad. And now the Supreme Court takes that rock off of the American economy. They did him a favor. But he is about the power, and he's about self-enrichment, and he's about being able to get what he wants, both for himself and he claims for America, and the tariff threat is a significant one. And so he has been able to wield it with the kind of power that has brought him a lot of self-enrichment, as we've detailed. So this is the latest. I see Trump as, you have another cut for, he is rambling. He is disgusted. He's there on the platform, flanked by his people, Howard Lutnick, who's coming off the bruising he's taken this week with revelations of his utter, what would you call it? I guess I'll just call it lying with regard to his relationship with Epstein. It's hard to even see Lutnick now without at least recognizing the lie. I don't know that he's been accused of any improprieties beyond that, but he had a relationship with Epstein. Anyway, he's on the platform with Trump as Trump articulates the madness of someone who's had really the organizing aspect of his presidency removed from his power. Wes in Florida asking, I'll get to that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is there recourse to get collected tariffs back if the Supreme Court said they were not legal? Thanks for the super chat. The answer, of course, is yes. Absolutely, there's recourse. I've said there is legal paperwork already in play. Albert noted Costco. We had that story. There are other big companies that have been very much affected by this tariff policy. Well, there's no big company in America that hasn't been affected by it. But there will be a system in place, a logistical system in place to recover those tariffs. I know it just seems like so much. How could they possibly do it? It will be done. And it will have an effect on the American economy. Now, some of those effects, just to be fair, may affect debt. Because to the degree that you're paying debt down with those monies, well, that's going to be no longer happening. The other thing, as I mentioned, is that you've paid a lot of farmers and other industries off with that tariff money. It's been directed to industry and to those industries that have been, and sectors of the economy that have been most dramatically affected negatively. You're not going to get that money back. So who's going to write that check? You and I are going to write it as taxpayers, because that money, the tariff money, is going to be returned. So, and there'll have to be class actions on the part of small businesses and many consumers who paid those tariffs. I'm handicapping that as never being returned, just straight up. I don't think consumers are going to get their money back. I mean, I'm sure there'll be class actions launched, et cetera. It'll take years, but I think that's a fool's errand. I worry that our failing foreign policy will devalue the dollar. How long can big business continue to support Trump? Thank you, Vilma, again, an OG of the show, and I appreciate that super chat.
Big shout out.
I would say two things about that. One is Trump wants the dollar devaluated. You understand that, right? Because he's all about trade policy. And if you want more American goods and services purchased, then you want a dollar that isn't as strong. So it serves that purpose and that goal. As for big business and their support of Trump, the one thing Trump's great for is doing what? Removing all regulation that you have to deal with. The financial institutions love him. The crypto people just adore him. I mean, if you are into dark money, if you're into money laundering, if you're into all the ways that crypto can be used illegally and for moving tremendous amounts of money to various people and entities, and it's really not traceable to any person, then you'll love the new America because they've taken the restrictions off. I think businesses generally, in the financial sector anyway, are still very much in bed with Trump. That's where I would say. Could Trump secretly be glad about the tariff news? It distracts from all the Epstein news.
What?
That's terrific.
Who is having that conversation?
I love that. Hula Steph is having it. Could Trump secretly be glad about the tariff news? It distracts from all the Epstein news. Do you think you're...
Wild idea, but it just might work.
I don't know. It really is wild. That is wild. I love it. Well, we will see. But I'll have the boys in here after the top of the hour in just a couple of minutes, and we'll talk more. I also want to get into Epstein stuff. Trump's ego on display in such a big way. He has put a banner. I mean, this is like a North Korean straight up flex. He has done it in Washington. I'll share that with you in just a moment. But first, a word about
The Mark Thompson Show.
One of our partners. They're our new partner, and I'm so excited to have them on board. I am talking about the people at Sweet 106 Bakery. And, you know, if you go to Sweet 106 bakery.com. And again, Suite is spelled S-U-I-T-E, like a suite of rooms for those who are just listening and not watching. Sweet106bakery.com. You will see the most wonderful collection of confections and deliciousness. And we road tested them. Okay, so I didn't just welcome them on the air. We road tested them for a month. I sent out samples to Albert, to Kim, to Tony. We wanted to really, evaluate it. And it's incredible how delicious this is. And it's small batches being baked. So when you order, they bake to order, and then they send it out. And for me, the layered cupcakes are a genius of not only ingredients and execution, but the idea is it's literally a layered cupcake, and it comes in those containers that you're seeing. You eat it like you eat a little bit of ice cream at a time or whatever. You could serve it, I guess, as well, but we just kind of love just eating out of the container.
I like putting mine in the freezer and then taking it out and eating it. It adds another dimension to all
that's
the layers.
Cool.
Yeah.
You must try this product. Sweet106bakery.com. And this is the best part. Treat yourself to fresh baked cookies and cupcakes and get 15% off with our discount code MarkT. Sweet106bakery.com. Use the discount code MarkT and you'll get 15% off at a checkout. We love our partnership with them. They twice won Cupcake Wars. They won it. This is a small business. As I say, they bake to order. Sweet106bakery.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Right on. Right on. Now, before I get the Shure and Kelly takes on things in the next hour, I want to show you something that's happening in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Justice. It's not happening in the halls of the Department of Justice where you've already seen a total corruption and perversion of American justice, all in loyalty and in service of the Supreme Leader. But now you have the Supreme Leader's face hanging on a banner outside of the Department of Justice. That's right. Donald Trump, his face, you know, that strong, intense-looking face, is hanging on a banner outside of the Department of Justice. This is an ego flex at minimum, and it reminds you that Donald Trump and Donald Trump's people are in charge. This is a large banner that was unfurled at the Department of Justice just this week, and under his picture is the slogan, "Make America Safe Again." It's not the first time a large banner with a photo of the president has been hung on a federal building. Last year, banners featuring the president were hung outside the Department of Labor. Traditionally, and I know we don't do traditions anymore in this country, but traditionally, White House leaders have distanced themselves from the Department of Justice. You want to show that the department is politically impartial, but those were the old days, my friends. No, the new Department of Justice wants to make it clear that this president owns us. Trump has frequently weighed in on federal prosecutions and investigations. In 2025, the president submitted 2 claims against the Department of Justice and wanted $230 million in damages. This was unprecedented. And then the president took a victory lap during a speech at the Department of Justice headquarters. That was last March. And he is pursuing a retribution campaign on his political opponents with the help of the Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing.
Trump ordered Bondi to investigate New York Attorney General Letitia James, who previously had brought charges against Trump, of course, in his home state. Adam Schiff, the senator from California, who investigated him as a member of the House Select Committee on the January 6th Capitol attack. And even the Federal Reserve Board of Governors member, Lisa Cook, remember? After criticizing the interest rates set by the central bank, he said, I want to go after this governor. So now the Trump banner hangs on the Department of Justice. And when you go to Washington, you will see it there. There's something else going on at the Department of Justice, and a friend of the show, Lawyer Oyer, weighs in with the number of violations of court orders that now have been admitted to by this Department of Justice. Go ahead, Albert.
Hey, everybody. I want to share some stunning information that was just released by the Justice Department. I'm Liz Oyer, the former pardon attorney for the Department of Justice. Earlier this month, a federal judge in New Jersey finally got fed up with DOJ and DHS violating court orders in immigration cases. This has been a problem across the country. DOJ and DHS have been blatantly and repeatedly failing to comply with court orders, which they are legally required to follow. They've been depriving people of their rights left and right. So this judge, Michael Farberaz, took a very unusual step. He ordered the Justice Department to produce a list of all the times the government had violated court orders in immigration cases in New Jersey in the last 60 days. And he ordered them to submit this information in a sworn affidavit, meaning under oath and subject to penalty of perjury. Remarkably, DOJ actually complied with this order. And here's what they said. In a sworn statement, a senior DOJ official admitted to 56 violations of court orders in just the last 2 months. And that was only in the District of New Jersey, which is just one of 94 federal district courts around the country. The violations they cited include wrongly deporting people, wrongly transferring detained people out of state, failing to conduct required bond hearings, failing to produce evidence requested by judges, missing court deadlines, and failing to timely release people from custody, among others. This is not just happening in New Jersey. A court in Minnesota recently found at least 74 violations of court orders in that district in January alone. This is truly unheard of. It is not normal for DOJ to disobey court orders at all. To the extent it happens, it might be a handful of times per year nationwide, not dozens of times per state per month. But here's the good news. The district courts are pushing back. They are not letting these abuses go unnoticed or unchecked. DOJ is going to have to make some major changes to how they're doing business, or they may be put out of business. As shocking as it is to see these types of reports, it's evidence that our justice system still has a pulse. I'll be keeping tabs, so you don't have to.
She is terrific. Friend of the show, Oyer lawyer, Liz Oyer, the former pardon attorney at the Department of Justice. It just has to be stomach turning for her to watch what's happened to the institution she dedicated so much time to see what's happening. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on all of that. I think it was a stark admission, the number of times that these court orders have been have waived off, essentially. To be continued. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On Fridays, we get to visit with a couple of guys who bring it all into some coherence for us. He's forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. Michael Shure is with us. And the brilliant clarity of Mo Kelly is on display today. I am so excited, boys. It's a very big day. I was saying before, I think the SCOTUS decision does Donald Trump's economy a big favor. But I'd like to hear from both of you, and I'll play a little bit of what Trump had to say as well in reaction. But first, you, Michael Shure, how did you take it all in? You have to unmute for me, if you would, please.
Yeah, I'll do that. Are we talking about Canada, Finland, or U.S., Slovakia?
Exactly. That's the other show you do.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Hi, Mark. Hi, Mo. I mean, I took it all in sort of the same way. I think it tells me more about the court than it does about the administration in a way of how they're posturing. Look, I think I've never been part of a Supreme Court decision. I've covered them, but never been part of them. I feel like both sides probably are prepared for either outcome here. I think there was a little bit of surprise. This administration's always surprised when their handpicked court doesn't go the way they want to. But I do think that it's telling that you had Roberts and you had Gorsuch and you had Barrett all in the place where you would not have predicted all three of them to be. And that dynamic, as there's a busy docket of challenging the status quo from the administration in the next court season, I think that to me tells me more. Yeah, I know why you're saying what you're saying, Mark, and I don't disagree, that it might be better for Trump. I don't know about better. I don't think he likes to lose at anything, but I do think what this creates is a little bit of relief. Like, what I want to do, we can blame on the court, not me. What I want to do, we can, if Congress now wants to step in, well, I have a MAGA House and a MAGA Senate. They might be able to help me in ways that the court wasn't able to help me. So I see why there's a way to look at it in that through that spectrum.
Mo, how about you? How did you take this and digest it this morning?
First, the stark contrast in which our SCOTUS, the individual members, can view the same constitutional document or law more broadly just fascinates me. It's almost like it highlights the separate realities in which we live, where it seemed to me, and I'm not a lawyer, but to most legal scholars and historians, this was an easy one. Maybe 20 years ago, we would have had a 9-0 decision as opposed to 6-3, as the abilities and powers of the president are clearly outlined in the Constitution. But it just fascinates me how we could even still get a 6-3 decision. John Roberts, again, confounds Donald Trump. Is not one of his SCOTUS picks, but it almost like he seems like he hedges his bet between the moment and history as far as how he wants to be remembered. And clearly he wants to be remembered in history as someone who was not necessarily in firm alignment with Donald Trump. Does this help the economy? Absolutely. I don't know if it helps the Trump administration. And as far as what type of response they'll have, Michael Shure talked about how it could come through the Congress as far as his next attempt to do what he wants to do. But the uncertainty scares me, if only because we have a crazy person in the White House who is not constrained by norms, traditions, or laws. So there's no telling how Trump, the individual, may react.
It is true that he seemed wounded by this decision today in his public remarks. And there was a little bit of what Mo was talking about, which is sort of this hint at a flex of some kind, sort of in the anger, in probably the internal rage he feels as a result of his power being taken from him. Look, this is a centerpiece of the way he did business, not only economic business, but, international, beyond international trade, just international relations. And it had set up a system of patronage where various countries had to come to him and make a deal for Trump golf course and resort and all these. I mean, the Swiss came with that, gold encrusted clock or whatever. Everybody was coming to him. And, he even made the comment, they remember his comment, they're coming to me and kissing my ass.
They are kissing my ass.
That's exactly right. And so I think on some level, this is a real body blow to him. And I'm wondering kind of what Mo's saying, what's going to come next as a result of feeling wounded this way, Michael?
Yeah, I think he's wounded by disloyalty. And even though the court has no, oath to loyalty to Donald Trump, to one person, there's some that have an oath to the conservative movement. I think when he probably digests this, not in the legal terms, but wait a second, I was the one who put Gorsuch there. I was the one who put Amy Coney Barrett there. How could they have gone against me in such a way? Right there. So there's this, he sees things through that lens. And when you do that, it's not so much about the substance of what it is, but about the team play here. Wait a second, I'm Donald Trump. How could you defy me in this case? I was counting on you. I gave you those jobs. Well, it turns out, and Mo is right, that this is always going to be known as the Roberts Court. And John Roberts takes that seriously in terms of how this court will be looked through in its jurisprudence and in history. But also, when we refer to the Rehnquist Court or we refer to other courts, Roberts has that in mind too, and yeah, what it does to the White House, I'm not sure. I don't think that they're, operate in a haphazard way with the assumption that things are going to go the way they want them. And I'd say they have a pretty good record of success in that way, even if it's temporary. So he's going to resort to some sort of executive action. And I think he may find a way to challenge other parts of this ruling. But again, that's for lawyers, not for me. I tend to think that Trump is, he moves on to the next thing as well, as we know. I mean, then it's Iran. I lost here. I'm going to go to Iran now.
I mean, that certainly will take our mind off of this pretty quickly if he does open fire on Iran. I just want to play you a second or two. Albert, do you have it of his remarks this morning, just to get a flavor for it, and then we will move on because there's a lot of other stuff I want to get to, and my time's limited. Go ahead, Albert, please.
To a lot of people. That's a new record. We set a record every time. Well, thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. But you can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court. And it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular. When in fact, they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it. We still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that.
Okay, so I think the one thing that was sort of jumped out at me, I mean, it's the typical rambling, and he defaults to, I won this, won in a landslide, et cetera. But when he talks about foreign interests, I thought that was an interesting thing. I mean, I get it, Mo, the tariffs involve foreign relationships, economics of trade, but it was. I don't know, that call out just sort of jumped out to me amidst all the other stuff that he just sort of defaults to, I think.
For me, it landed squarely in the box and bin of accusation equals confession. If there's any president who has been co-opted, if there's anyone who of our government has been co-opted, you could more readily point to someone like Clarence Thomas. If you were worried about the Supreme Court, you can obviously point to Donald Trump. So that to me was laugh out loud funny, even though none of this is funny. It was predictable in the sense that he takes everything as a personal insult to him and affront to him. In other words, if you stand opposite of what this president wants, you are then charged with being un-American, or you are antithetical to the interests of America, including the recently released enemies list of colleges and universities around the nation, which are considered high risk, including my alma mater of Georgetown University. So it's very clear. If you are not in alignment and agreement with this president and he sees himself as proxy for America, you are un-American, you are unpatriotic, and you should then suffer the ire and consequences of anything that Donald Trump sends your way.
This is sort of interesting, too, from a practical standpoint. Businesses that fail due to tariffs, says Teacher Lori, can't come back. Betting prices will not lower to pre-tariff rates because companies will take advantage of charging more for the same goods, maybe lower slightly. This is the point I was making when tariffs were first imposed. They always end up with rising prices everywhere, on the tariffed and on the untariffed, because once the prices rise, companies, even those that are untariffed, begin to see, oh, I'm able to actually inflate the price of my goods. It'll be very interesting to see how the yeah, go ahead.
We saw that during the pandemic, right? I mean, there were all these. We said, oh, it's the what it was
supply chain, yeah.
The supply chain. Well, then the supply chain was fine afterward. You know, it did go through a massive upheaval. Then it was fine, but the prices stayed exactly where they were because if the people will pay, which they did, then you have that happening. And that's a little bit what's working against Trump with the price of eggs in a way, too, which don't fluctuate in the way that he imagined them. And so, you know how much a dozen eggs is under Joe Biden? Well, it's a little more or about the same under Donald Trump. And so those sorts of issues with prices, maybe it's changed. Maybe that whole dynamic has changed because, like you said, these corporations can get away with it. And, you know, more to what this projection that Mo just talked about, he's projecting loyalty as well. He's saying, oh, these people, they vote the same way every time. Look at Thomas and Alito, right? I mean, look at the way they vote. And I wouldn't even say Kavanaugh in there, but look at Thomas and Alito for sure. So he's what abouting them, but he knows that's what he's doing and that's what he expects. So it's vintage Donald Trump, and it's what disgusts so many people about him. And then you look at Howard Lutnick there, like what is he thinking as he's standing there? I mean, it's just it's beyond me.
Well, I mean, Lutnick is one of the great Trump explainers, and in this ridiculous fashion that he goes, you know, it's like it's absolute cheerleading on a level of obnoxiousness that I have never seen on a public stage. But I want to get to quickly the Epstein situation because it was significant that the former Prince Andrew was arrested in England. And I'm wondering if you have thoughts on this. And Albert, you have the a little bit of the news as it broke, because this was a big one. And obviously, British intelligence has access to a lot of the same stuff that American intelligence has access to, but they acted on it with great haste. Go ahead.
A stunning royal arrest. Former Prince Andrew taken into custody from his home in the English countryside. It follows growing revelations about the alleged connections between the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew, the former Duke of York and brother of King Charles. Thames Valley Police saying the arrest was on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police have been looking into emails in which Andrew apparently shared confidential government information with Epstein. The latest batch of released files showing Andrew forwarded reports about foreign countries and trade opportunities to Epstein in 2010, when he was serving as a UK trade envoy.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
But the scandal has been growing for years, with other allegations, including of sexual misconduct against Andrew, including from Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre, seen in this picture with Andrew. The prince asked about it in an infamous interview in 2019.
She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
Though he has always denied allegations of misconduct. In the years since, intensifying outcry with the release of Giuffre's posthumous memoir.
So this is something that Giuffre talked about, her relationship. I only have you for another minute or two, Michael Shure. Can you comment on this? Because even as I say they acted with haste, obviously, you know, he's been on their radar for 15 years, and there have been actions taken against him during that time. But it seems like the Epstein thing is blowing up in a way over there that it may start to blow up here.
Maybe it's blowing up not in the way that people who are, you know, appalled by Epstein want it to blow up or think it ought to blow up. This is about sharing trade secrets, which is not the crux of why people are disgusted by Jeffrey Epstein. So while you get you get Al Capone on tax fraud sometimes, and it's not the worst stuff he did, and this is the way you get Andrew. I think what's telling about it is the way that the United Kingdom has gone after even Prince Andrew in this case, or the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, in a way that the United States hasn't seen anybody have to face the music for Jeffrey Epstein in any way, right? I mean, on any level. So to me, that's the most interesting part of this. But again, they're going after him. They found something to get him on that has nothing to do with Dancing with Virginia Giuffre. I mean, so and on the one hand, nice if you think that that's a terrible thing that he may have done, but also, let's not gloss over some of the accusations to people about people here and about people associated with Epstein.
I think I have to say goodbye to you now, but I'll continue with Mo. Thank you for being here, Michael Shure, and good luck to the U.S. hockey team.
Yes.
I did want to follow up on that, though, because I had the same thought about Al Capone that Michael mentioned, that he's not being nailed on the true horror associated with human trafficking. He's being nailed on other stuff, but the price is being paid here in this country on some level as revelations come out at talent agencies, at law firms, in different areas of high-end professionals who had relationships with Epstein that were kind of skeezy. It seems to me Michael's right. It's on one level, it's that Al Capone thing, but on the other level here in this country, Mo, I think that people are beginning to pay a price for just their relationship on the stuff that is the thing that makes your skin crawl.
I think that we need to make a distinction here. There is what is happening socially, culturally, and also in the private sector versus what is happening in the public sector. We could look around the world, and the world has been far less accommodating for world leaders who get into trouble. We can look at what Israel has done with Netanyahu and his indictment. We can look at South Korea, how they just put their former president in prison for life for fomenting an insurrection. But when you look at the fullness of the history of the United States, we have been reticent to really do anything with the executive branch. Yes, you may have a senator like Bob Menendez in prison right now, but we can go back to Spiro Agnew, and the country had him on bribery, extortion, and tax evasion. Didn't go to jail. You can talk about Bill Clinton, who was arguably guilty of lying to a federal grand jury regarding Paula Jones. There was no criminal indictment after that. And of course, with everything with Donald Trump. So the history of America is protective of the executive branch at the highest levels. This is no different. This just happens to be Jeffrey Epstein.
And now to the military and the movement of enormous amounts of military hardware to positioning that would suggest that some kind of military confrontation with Iran is imminent. It serves, I get it, in a wag the dog way as a distraction from some of what we've talked about, everything from the Epstein revelations. Trump is all over the Epstein files, and the Epstein document dump like a bad smell. I mean, it's everywhere. Literally, his name shows up 1 million times, and with wild redactions associated, would seem in large measure to Trump's involvement. But then, of course, there's the Supreme Court decision, and to the extent that, as we were talking before, he wants to move on to the next thing. This situation in Iran is very much the next thing, but it's also enormously volatile, this region. And I don't know that the Iranians are going to play nice, meaning I think that, even if you win the overall confrontation, and I don't know even what that means, I guess I'm asking you, but you can get your nose bloodied in all of this, even if you're America. And I also think that it puts this administration in a weird place where I thought he had destroyed the nuclear capacity and capabilities of Iran when he was claiming the victory lap after that big bombing. And now we're back at the negotiating table about it. It's an odd look.
I learned a long time ago, you shouldn't try to make sense out of nonsense, and what Donald Trump may say today has no bearing on what he may have said previously or promised heretofore. We do know that this conflagration, escalation, whatever you want to call it, with Iran serves more than one purpose. It does serve as a distraction. It does serve political ends. If you want to view Venezuela through the lens of a petri dish or a testing phase, for a test run for what they want to do in Iran, you can see that how that's going to play out here. There's oil involved. There's regime change, which is obviously involved. And for political ends, it does serve that purpose as far as moving Iran off the board and controlling their oil. And it does distract from the Epstein files as far as the complicit White House press corps, who will lead with questions about Iran or maybe aliens, but talk less about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just looking at the Wall Street Journal reporting on all the different assets that have moved into the region. And, you got dozens of jet fighters and support aircraft, and there are bases in Jordan and Saudi Arabia. And, we have warplanes and bases throughout the Middle East that have been launching points for all kinds of conflicts, from Afghanistan to Syria, Yemen, But it does seem as though everything is marshaled with a kind of focus on Iran. And, Iran, while I get the fact that they were diminished in these confrontations most recently, they have the capability, I think, still to defeat, for example, the Golden Dome in Israel on some level. They have, they have real missile capabilities that I suspect if the U.S., it seems as though it's an imminent thing, as we've heard Trump speak of it, and as I said, as this hardware has been moved into the region, if the U.S. pulls the trigger on that, they may pull the trigger on some of these capacities they have to do some real harm to American allies or even to American bases in the region.
That's a great point. And sometimes we as Americans, we have this false sense of security. Well, Iran can't reach us. We are militarily superior to them. Yes, we are. But they are, as in Iran, much more militarily and sophisticated and equipped compared to Venezuela. And they could impact the region in the ways that a Venezuela could not. And yes, they could launch an attack on neighbors in that region, which could escalate this into a full-blown world war, my phrase, in a way that I don't know this administration is actually counting on. And let's not forget, when you move all that military hardware into that region, you're going to use it. Financially, it doesn't make sense to move all those assets there and not do something, at least as a show of force. So when we say that military action is imminent, we do mean it. We as in the United States, something is going to happen. Something's going to get bombed. And I suspect that this is going to be the first step of many leading to regime change. They've talked about it since Trump was first president in the first time around. There's no reason to believe he's not going to go through it this time around.
Even as he's doing this, Mo, he's talking about the Board of Peace. This is basically a group of countries run by despots and authoritarians in waiting at best. And it's a grift, as I see it. It's $1 billion entry fee. And he's saying the U.S. is going to commit $10 billion to this. So that's you and I who are contributing to this made-up Board of Peace. And Trump will have control for life over this Board of Peace. And this Board of Peace is, it seems, and again, this is sort of the artifice of and theater of what Trump is doing, trying to solve conflicts worldwide and avoid conflicts worldwide. But what he's done is, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, the UAE, Morocco, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudis are there, the Uzbekistanis, the Kuwaitis. It's not exactly, it's like he's setting up a competitive UN across the street from the UN.
That, and I would call it just a thinly veiled money laundering scheme. This $10 billion that the U.S. is supposed to be contributing, well, in my knowledge of civics, the only way that $10 billion can leave the United States is through through Congress, disbursement, which has power of the purse strings. It's unclear that this organization, which is not an official government entity, which has not been approved of any official disbursement by Congress, can legally do this. Why there is this financial commitment from our country and others, I'm not sure, other than a way to siphon money off and move money from country to country without consequence or oversight.
Yeah, I should mention that I love that you mentioned this because it is a massive grift and it's corruption with both hands in the pot of gold. But dozens of world leaders headed to Washington for what really was a fundraiser. I mean, it's designed to get other nations on board, but the Europeans saying no go. We're not stepping in for this. So to the extent that it reflects maybe an emerging new world order, maybe it is just that. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, Mo Kelly, is associated with the kind of grift within the administration. The grift I'm talking about in this case is associated with Kash Patel, who takes himself to Italy on the taxpayer dime, on the private jet dedicated to transporting him. And he was there to watch Team USA, the Olympic hockey team. Yeah. He's 45 years old. As you know, he is traveling often with his girlfriend, and it's a $60 million jet that Patel is traveling on, and he frequently uses that jet to travel to the Ultimate Fighting Championship matches, to sporting events, to hunting trips, and even to visit his girlfriend when she's not with him on these trips. But he posted from there and sort of just became a fanboy for the U.S. I feel as though this is a classic move on the part of both Patel, Kristi Noem, and those who are really taking government privilege and turning it into something that they literally have as their own little playground.
It seems like they've added more creatures and more water to the swamp. And let's not forget, although this may bother you, it may bother me, it may bother people who are in the chat commenting right now, it does not bother this administration. They've made it very clear that they are immune to public critique. And you cannot shame people who have no shame. You cannot shame or embarrass the shameless. Beyond the use of the FBI jet, you can talk about Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski and that private jet, which is supposedly going to be used for immigration purposes, which is just a lavish jet, which cannot be used in any functional way other than just for grift. And they know this. We've all seen the pictures, but there is no consequence. So there is no deterrent to this behavior. There's an old African-American proverb that I use all the time and I try to remember. It goes like this: who gonna check me, boo? There is no one to stop them. There's no one to tell them that this is inappropriate. And if you continue, then there are going to be consequences where you're going to be impeached, you're going to be removed, you're going to be put in prison. And since none of those things are on the table, then what is the reason for Kash Patel not to post on social media? What would be the impetus to not go to Milan and hang out and at the Olympic Games with his girlfriend? What is the impetus for Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski to not have sex on a jet and hang out and tour around the world? Because none of this means anything anymore.
Wow. So well said. Finally, this story, because it really is a pivot to the world of ICE and immigration enforcement and the perversion of same in this country. An Army veteran detained by federal immigration agents in Southern California during his work commute has filed a lawsuit against the federal government. According to this lawsuit filed this week, George Retes was held in a detention center for 3 days without access to his family, an attorney, or any information about the charges against him. He's a 26-year-old U.S. citizen. He was arrested while on his way to his job at a security farm, I should say. He's a guard at a farm in Ventura County, is what I'm trying to say. We covered this story at the time, but now he is suing. And during this time that he was confronted by immigration and customs enforcement agents, there was a raid going on at this farm where, again, he's a security guard. He's an American citizen. They go to these farms because they know that there could be undocumented immigrants there. So he attempted to explain to agents who were blocking the roadway as he was really arriving to work that he needed to get through to work. They shattered his car window, they dragged him out of the car, and they detained him without checking his ID. Yep. Then he was held at the Metro Detention Center in LA without a clear explanation of his detainment. So his rights were violated, it would seem, and now he is suing ICE and the United States government. Thoughts on this, Mo?
Fourth Amendment violations, Fifth Amendment violations, and I'm not a legal scholar, but just on the surface, it's pretty obvious. Habeas corpus, more than 3 days held without legal representation. All of these things go on. And see, the thing is, this is what we know about. This is one of the more high-profile examples of the robbing of American citizens' rights. Do you think that he's the only one? Of course not. He's probably one of hundreds, maybe even thousands, but don't have the type of media exposure to highlight what has been done to them or others. And again, it goes back to what I said. There are really no consequences to it. I don't think that the United States government is going to change direction per se regarding its immigration policy because of this one individual or this one lawsuit. Now, we know that they're susceptible to changing direction when it comes to funding big picture. But after they get their funding, I suspect they're going to go back to just what they were doing before. Damn the midterms, damn any type of protest. This is what the president wants done. And there's nothing for me to say or believe which this is going to fundamentally change. There are going to be more people suffering the same consequences as this citizen.
Yeah, I've said it in this culture. I always say that, sadly, lawsuits are the way, with financial penalty attached to them, that you get corporations, you get businesses to change behavior. In this case, I agree with you. They, at best, will write a check and then nothing changes because for all the reasons that you've detailed and more. Love having you here. Always like the best part of my week. Thank you for being here on Fridays. I saw a comment. Let me just find it here. I always like a little Mo Kelly love. Mo is the new Mark Thompson. Well, I think he even exceeds. Dude is so cool and smart. I agree with that part. From Richard Delamater. We just adore you, Mo.
Mark, yeah. I appreciate that. And just to be very frank, it's nice to receive just a little bit of love, given all the hate that I received at KFI. I've been saying that out loud. I'm gone, but it's good to be gone.
Well, you are so welcome here, and we give you a big warm hug, man. Really appreciate your smarts every week. Thank you. Mo Kelly, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I wanted to mention, I'll get you, I know, Mo Kelly. Look at all that love for Mo Kelly. I echo it. I feel it. Love you, Mo, 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 Mo. Mo, Mo. Mo is terrific. Really great. Well, you'll find more of Mo. And you'll find him here at minimum next Friday. Thank you, Mr. Mo Kelly, says Ruben.
And now, your comments.
I also wanted to check in. A big thanks to all of you, says Dillette, with a $50 super chat. Are you kidding me? I mean,
big shout out.
Big shout out to you, Dillette. A big thanks to all of you for giving us the format to hear the actual truth. And I have absolutely no sympathy for Donnie supporters. None, zero, nada, says Dillette.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is true. They
that was very inappropriate.
I don't know. I think that, I'll tell you this. I was talking to like a really well-off guy who's like a TV producer kind of guy right after the election when Trump won. And he said what Dillette is saying in this comment. He said, now I don't have any sympathy for these people who voted for him in these communities that need help, these communities that need government assistance, people who are on government assistance, communities that he's going to go after, how they could vote for Trump. It's insane. And sadly, there is way more than just those who voted for Trump who are negatively affected by Trump policy. So I get that you don't have to have sympathy for them. And I kind of share the view that, like, hey, you guys, you created this. But sadly, we all have to choke down the monstrosity that is this regime. And it's scary. So I guess I agree with you. And I wish that the damage was limited to those who had just voted him in, because clearly it's way more than that. Quill Classics. Hey, it's been a minute since I've heard from Quill Classics, Albert. Albert knows that Quill Classics has been with us for a while.
Big
Big
shout
shout out for a $10 super chat. Yeah, super sticker, actually, I guess, with no chat attached. Harry Magnan, I'm tired of Trump. Can we move on to something normal like fabulous Florida? Says, well, I mean,
Big shout out.
Don't like the audience producing the show from the wherever they are. I mean,
whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I suppose I could. This is from BMB Photo Man. Wow.
What?
Yeah, it says BMB Photo Man. But this is on the tariffs. Will those companies lower their prices back to pre-tariff levels or keep current prices and make the extra profit margin instead? Well, it's what I said before, and I said it at the time. When you see tariffs imposed, it's bad for consumers. It's bad for consumers because you're paying a tariff on whatever product is being imported. And other companies that don't import, they see now that the price points have risen. And the consumers are willing to pay those higher price points, and so they raise prices too. It's an inflationary spiral, and it's exactly what's happened. So the answer is prices may come down a bit, but I'd be very surprised if they came down substantially. So there's that as well. Trump knows a lot about being influenced by foreign countries. Thank you. Tom Graves, you are so right.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to you. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Yeah. My Sweet 106 bakery stuff arrives. Oh, it arrived yesterday, says Hilo Karen. My husband ate one bite and had to stop because it's so rich. Our eyes actually rolled. It's so incredible. Yeah. Sweet106bakery.com. Use our discount code MarkT Snickers with a Z. Arriving yesterday. Isn't Hilo Karen in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Wow. I
believe so.
love that. I love that. Again, it's made to order. So you order it at sweet106bakery.com and use our discount code MarkT. You get 15% off. They bake it for you. They get it out to you. And then the rest you will delight in.
For Hilo Karen, it's a switch up from the malasadas, all the other stuff they have over there in Hawaii.
Oh, look at Albert speaking the language of dessert, of Hawaiian dessert. This was for Michael Shure. We had to say goodbye to him, but the men's Olympic gold game is on Sunday, Michael. If it's Canada and the U.S., it's going to be tough. Canada has a ton of great forwards, but the U.S. has an elite defense. It's a coin flick, but fortunately, while Michael's away, the commissioner is here. Albert.
Albert, thank you.
How do you handicap this medal game on Sunday? I asked you. Commissioner Depressed Canadian asks as well.
Well, we got to wait for that. Our Team USA to win. They're currently up 1-0 against Slovakia as we are live on the show. But the Canadians, it's a great team, but they have been in really tough one goal barely wins, and it's showing that it's just a toss up this year. Like they're a great roster, but all the teams are stepping up. It's playing for your country. It's a little different than your normal type of hockey. So
it's playing for your country. Yeah,
you cannot say you love your country.
All right. A $2.99 super sticker from Dan Sylvia. All right, Dan Sylvia. Big shout out to you, and thank you for that. We appreciate it. We're a crowd-funded show. We make a big deal out of people in the crowd who fund us. Patreon and PayPal are really the ways on an ongoing basis you can support this show. The Guardian is saying regarding Andrew, police were likely to be looking for computers, phones, other devices that could yield evidence in form of emails, texts, and images, says CC Ryder. What other crimes will they discover? Yeah, that's fascinating because you've now then taken it past that Al Capone on tax charges type thing. and into this world that is the underground of human trafficking, that'll be interesting and perhaps revelatory, you know. This from Captain Tango with the 810 is throwback to
Big shout out.
KGO. Hi, Mark, Albert, and Remarkables. I ordered 2 Sweet 106 bundles for Valentine's Day for friends. They have enjoyed them so far. Thank you. Yeah. You cannot go wrong with this. Sweet106bakery.com, the most exciting new partner, and everything has worked. So do use our discount code, MarkT, at checkout.
They won Cupcake Wars not once but twice, so that should say a lot about the kind of product they have.
Right, and you know, the second time she was on Cupcake Wars, I think she was up against like 50 champions. You know, you're up against the best of the best the second time. So there will be a huge blue wave in the midterms, says Sim. Well, this is hoping you're right. We'll talk more about that next week. I do have Florida to do, and I have Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, still to come. And we have both those things ahead. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Before I get to it, Albert, I must also recognize Zellman's. I'm rocking Zellman's right now as I'm speaking with you. I take Zellman's, as does Courtney, before bed, gets rid of morning breath. It is Zellman's Minty Mouth. We road tested this product before we agreed to have them as partners on the air. We had used Zellman's for a month before I brought them on. Dual action capsules. It is minty on the outside, and then you swallow the capsule, and you get the effects, and that's where the real action is. The parsley seed oil and other oil interacts with your stomach and those things in your stomach and neutralizes the bad taste, the bad breath that comes up. Zellman's Minty Mouth, you must jump on and grab some. Use our discount code MarkT, 15% off there. Again, it's dual action, minty on the outside, and again, the parsley seed oil, which does work in your stomach to neutralize the things that give you bad breath. You check it out for yourself. You road test it. Zellmans.com, Zellmins, Zellmans.com. Use our code MarkT for 15% off. You'll be a believer the way we are in my house. Loving it. Zellmans.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, it's just you and me to do Florida, but Florida we shall do. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Story, Albert, is that how we're starting? Or is that the last story, the heartwarming story? Do you want me to start with heartwarming, or do you want me to
Maybe we
finish
can end with it. It'll be a good little button up to the...
Let's start with the intense stuff then. A woman without a right hand is cited in Florida for holding the phone while driving, and that video of the handless woman holding the phone is going viral online. Yeah. Albert is showing you the video now.
It's huge on TikTok. I even saw it earlier in the week. It's a pretty bizarre video where the policeman stops or pulls her over, and she confirms with him three to four times that you saw me in my right hand, right? And as he gets out of screen, she flashes her. I'm sure we'll see it in the video.
Yeah,
flashes
he's saying,
her.
hey, you're holding it in your right hand, and she's saying, well, it's funny because I actually don't have a right hand. Isn't that kind of where it's going?
Exactly, yeah.
So this is the handless woman cited for holding the phone, says, hey, you can't cite me. I don't have a hand to hold the phone. Again, this has gone viral. During the stop, the deputy is heard stating that he saw the device in her, quote, right hand. And the woman said, this would be a great moment in like a Law and Order episode. Your Honor, I don't have a right hand, and I will challenge this citation in court beyond. Sure enough, this texting and driving, which is against the law in Florida, means that drivers can be pulled over solely for that violation. So she is
That'll be a quick day in court. She just shows up. And...
It
All
will
right, you're good
indeed.
to go. Well,
Meantime, on the other side of town, a Florida man smashes a car with a hammer in a Publix parking lot, which is always with your iron rod. Apparently, it was a revenge plot, according to deputies. He's accused of smashing the car with a hammer in a Publix parking lot to get revenge on his ex-girlfriend. I don't know. It's a
wild idea, but it just might work.
Authorities identifying him as Justin Allen. He's 37. The revenge burns hot with Justin Allen. Broke into a Publix employee's vehicle in the Ormond by the Sea area. Deputies saying that he smashed the vehicle with a hammer, and it was revenge on an ex. He said that the vehicle was his. Later, he said it was his girlfriend's car. And he's a contractor. He had tools, including the hammer, in his own car. That's the great thing about being a contractor. You have all those car-smashing tools right there in your own car. Damage to the vehicle included a broken front driver's side window, a passenger side window. He really went to town. Dented the driver's side door, a passenger side door, damaged the car radio. He went to town.
My bad. I'm sorry.
He's facing multiple felony charges, but it's not all weirdness and badness in Florida. A Florida man, as you know, and I think we featured this story in Friday Fabulous Florida some weeks ago, jumped into a canal to save an unconscious mother and her 3 children after their SUV veered off the road.
it sounds like the one we just talked about, but that was a pregnant woman who had to give birth.
Oh, you're right. She was pregnant.
So, in a miracle event, this is a second saving.
Wow. This is
Florida.
Another vehicle that veered off the road and went into a canal, and another life-saving move on the part of a bystander. Apparently, this mother gets a chance to thank the guy who pulled her out of the wreckage and saved her life just a week ago. The crash happened on February 8th in Indiantown. The mother, Shaniqua Wilkins, suffered a seizure behind the wheel. Her 3 young children were in the back seat, the vehicle plunging into a canal. And Casey Curtis just happened to be driving in the front of the SUV when he looked into his rearview mirror and saw it veer off the road. Well, he had an SUV. She had an SUV. But one of them ended up in the drink. Curtis quickly pulled over, dialed 911. Then he jumped out of his vehicle and rushed to help. Once I got up to the fence, he said, I noticed that there was knocking, banging on the window, and kids screaming. Wilkins' oldest daughter, just 8 years old, held her 2 siblings above water while she screamed for help. Curtis quickly got the 3 young children out of the SUV, then onto dry land before turning his attention to her, Wilkins. He held her head above the water while first responders rushed to the scene.
I've never seen anything like it.
A week later, he goes to the hospital and sees Wilkins, who is recovering and feeling much better. She was able to meet this man that she calls a hero. Indeed, she's asking, everyone's telling me that I shouldn't remember it. Did I remember? And she says, no, I remember driving from Indiantown. I don't remember when the seizure started or any of that because I've had a couple of them, but I never know when it's going to start. She remembers waking up and being told what happened. A few days after the crash, she was finally able to see her children. Emotional, Albert. This is very beautiful, an emotional moment.
What can you tell us about the scene?
An emotional moment.
I couldn't believe it. It's I'm so sad that Kim isn't here because Kim also had a similar saving of her child.
Kim rescued her son from the unforgiving waters of the Pacific. That's exactly right. But now we focus on this particular act of heroism. So we must pick a favorite on this week's iteration of Friday Fabulous Florida. A woman without the right hand, cited for holding the phone in the right hand.
What?
That likely will go to a judge. The Florida man smashing a car with a hammer in a Publix parking lot in an alleged revenge plot. And finally, the emotional reunion. The Florida man who jumped into a canal to save a mother and her 3 children, reuniting with that family a week later. We need a favorite, and I'm curious, yet I'm confident what the favorite will be in the chat. Albert, please share it.
Oh, there's a lot of votes. It looks one-sided. Sorry, no poll. I have a lot that I'm setting up for the next segment, but no poll. But the no hand.
Yes,
somebody called
no
her stubby.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Delamater called her stubby, which is kind of mean, but you know.
Richard Delamater. Well, here's a hand for no hand. That is Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
So good to have everybody here. Smash the like button if you would. Also, check out our Facebook page. It's brand new. It still has the new smell on it. Facebook is this new thing. I don't know much about it, but a lot of the kids are really all over it. So I don't come to... Who said that? In the comments section.
And now, your
Agent
comments.
Kitty Feet says, I don't come to Friday Fabulous Florida for wholesome stories.
It's pretty tame. It's the wintertime. There's only so many iguanas falling out of the sky stories I can do. The gators are dormant. And, and the people are safe.
I loved it.
Yeah, a lot of people loved it. I
And the
prefer my
people are
Friday
nice this
Fabulous
time of
Florida
year.
stories to have throwing stars or a sword or something more representative of the state, says Ron Cook. Albert, do better is what people are saying, okay?
I don't know. I think the Floridians are doing better because those are far and in between. I can't find those stories anymore. So
Louis says playing for your country is overrated. Winning medals for a totalitarian regime is priceless. Oh, wait, it actually retails for $14 million. Love Eileen G. Well, that's a big story that he's talking about the fact that the American who competed for the Chinese, it was first sort of spun as something that she was doing because of her Chinese heritage. You see, one of her parents is Chinese, one of her parents is American, I mean, from heritage on both sides anyway. And yet she was raised as an American, you know, in this country. And you could say with the support and structure of this country and freedoms of this country, right? So she decides that she's going to compete for the Chinese. And everybody thought, wow, that's weird because of everything I just said. And she said, well, no, it's because, you know, I want to try to expand my sports presence in China. So it seemed like, oh, it's kind of a lofty goal. But the reality is, apparently, she's getting big money for competing for China. Is that it, Albert?
huge money, actually. And that money was also offered. She's local to my area also, from San Francisco. And she's a freestyle skier. But yeah, huge money to compete for China. And it's funny because there's another person from Oakland who just won a gold medal for figure skating, which is Alyssa Liu. Got the same offer because her father is from China, but was in the Tiananmen Square protests and actually had to flee the country.
Wow.
Was offered the same deal, but nope. Proudly representing America, also winning gold in very epic
wow,
fashion.
that's a great story. The commish serving up the details.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, turn
Just got to
down the
point.
money.
Yeah. Same area, same different results. Both gold medalists. I can't blame either, but one of them clearly sold out.
I can't blame either, but one of them clearly sold out. All right. The most impolitic message from the political administration of the commissioner. All right, we continue. On Fridays, we like to look into the world of streaming, movies for the weekend, etc. A guy who knows it all and reports and writes about it for so many wonderful years. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder, he calls himself the Culture Blaster. He comes to us from San Francisco, California today. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Mark. And yes, I call myself the Culture Blaster. You call me the Culture Blaster. Many call me the Culture Blaster. Let's not make this all self-congratulatory here. And speaking of congratulations, I want to thank Albert for cutting in line here, because I wanted to lead off by saying Olympic figure skating gold medalist Elisa Liu is a goddess, a whirlwind of joy, and an Oakland girl. We are Bay Area proud of her. And I watched her free skate earlier today. Oh my God, it was gorgeous. She raised my spirits and gave me the strength to plow into the Mark Thompson show for my regular Friday segment.
Wow.
It's never been
That's
anything
very,
like this.
That's a beautiful support of Elisa Liu. And I would normally like it, but we're not about beautiful support on this show. We're about angry, acrimonious comments like this one. Rain says, Eileen Gu is a rich, privileged, entitled woman that chose money over country. Skater Elisa Liu didn't sell out. Yes.
Yay.
Well, there
Absolutely
you go.
true.
Well done, Rain. I like that you tempered your acerbity with a little bit of smoothness there with a compliment at the end. Is acerbity a word, Greg Culture Blaster?
No, I would not say it. It merits a ding. But go ahead.
All right, well, you're the wordsmith, so
here's a little venom for you. It's been a barrage of holidays over the past week, starting with Valentine's Day last Saturday, and I'm still waiting for my Sweet 106 cupcakes from you and Kim. I don't know what happened. Did they get lost in the mail?
First of all, we are going to get you your Sweet 106. I need an address where you'll actually be for a couple of days, and you are such a nomad and you move around so much. And the second thing I want to tell you is that acerbity is a word, so F you. All right.
This is so ridiculous.
Yeah, all right, go ahead, Michael. You'll get your damn sweets.
That was a letter. That wasn't a word. So anyway, Mardi Gras on Tuesday, Ash Wednesday, the beginning of Ramadan, the Lunar New Year, year of the fire horse. But this week also kicked off with President's Day, which I could not bring myself to celebrate, considering the current occupant of the White House.
What's your favorite presidential movie, though?
Well, maybe. Nah.
What is your favorite presidential movie that has to do with it?
I mean, maybe I have one, maybe I don't. I would say The American President, because
Thank you. There is only one answer. That is the one.
I knew someone who appeared in it. I don't know what happened to him.
I was in the goddamn movie. Thank you, Michael. Exactly.
I know. So listen,
all right, go ahead.
Before we get to the films, one of the only worthwhile things to emerge from this horrifying two elections of a thing I generally refer to as the Orange Ogre is the torrent of creative nicknames of old Blotus that reflect the cruelty of the way he himself tries to put down his perceived enemies. I am not sure whether these are the work of the ever-brilliant comedian and pundit Greg Proops, but I am particularly fond of Mango Mussolini, Persimmon Pinochet, Spray-Tanned Stalin, and my current favorite, the Cantaloupe Caligula. And I just had to express them as my own acknowledgement of President's Day earlier this week. I hope
very nice, Michael. I get it. You don't like this president, is what I'm getting from you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Kind of a little bit.
Don't talk to me that way.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, go ahead.
Let's get to movies.
Very inappropriate.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's movie time. Are you ready?
Do it, kid. Do it.
How to Make a Killing concerns the schemes of one Beckett Redfellow, a guy whose late mother was rejected by her ridiculously rich family. So he grows up a working class striver scrambling to make a living until he realizes he could inherit all the Redfellow money if he eliminates any other heirs in the way. So I'm watching this and I'm going, God, this story it feels familiar to me. And then the end credits reveal that this was based on the darkly comic 1949 UK masterpiece, Kind Hearts and Coronets, which was the first, I think, major appearance or helped build the career of Alec Guinness, who plays multiple roles in Kind Hearts and Coronets. So I'm watching this thing, How to Make a Killing, and I'm thinking it's a pretty nasty piece of work with a whole passel of unsavory characters, starting with Beckett, who happens to be played by the seemingly ubiquitous Glenn Powell. This guy is everywhere. He must have the best agent in the world. Anyway, I was caught up in it, and unfortunately, when it occurred to me that this is, Kind Hearts and Coronets, I thought, it's not up to the standards of that movie. And,
well, that movie was from the late 40s, is what you're saying?
Yeah, 1949.
Well,
I
no
think.
one knows that movie.
So many people know Kind Hearts and Coronets. It's one of the classics of cinema. Thank you.
All right,
Anyway, so I'm watching this thing and I'm thinking, I've seen Alec Guinness. I know Alec Guinness. Glenn Powell, you're no Alec Guinness. But he is okay, and the rest of the cast is top notch. I got to say, though, the director and screenwriter of this thing, John Patton Ford, his previous film, Emily the Criminal with Aubrey Plaza, is a better movie than this. But this is good enough for me to recommend to fans of off-kilter crime drama. I would say it was bold to try to remake Kind Hearts, and Ford's reach exceeded his grasp. But, it's pretty entertaining, and the supporting players are impressive. Margaret Qualley.
Emily, the Criminal was a great movie. You're right. I'm sorry. Who are the supporting players? Were you saying?
Margaret Qualley and Jessica Henwick play the women in Beckett's life. Bill Camp, Zach Woods, Topher Grace from that 70s show, and the masterful Ed Harris play some of the family members in the way of Beckett's access to the inheritance. It's something I think you're going to want to watch at home, maybe. And again, the crime aspects of it will probably appeal to you and Courtney. It is in theaters now. It's called How to Make a Killing. Not bad, but
all right,
obviously
not bad. The remake and Michael sort of likes it for a home viewing, particularly.
Yeah, sort of. It really, it's not up to the original. Okay, Midwinter Break was a major disappointment to me. You've got two wonderful actors. Leslie Manville, you may know her from The Phantom Thread, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. She was significant in the Cate Blanchett miniseries Disclaimer. And Kieran Hines, the great and venerable Kieran Hines of There Will Be Blood, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Game of Thrones, Rome. These guys play longtime, burned out married couples, Stella and Jerry, who take a trip from Glasgow, Scotland, where they live, to Amsterdam, maybe to refresh things in their marriage a little. But their issues, his drinking and her crisis of faith, continue to dog them as they take I'll call it a rather dull stroll around the picturesque city. They go to the Anne Frank house and here, there, and everywhere. They wander the canals, but it just didn't. It had no juice, as great as they are. Great actors in a scenic setting, undermined by a tedious examination of simmering angst and recriminations. People might kind of hew to it because the performances are, as ever, so rich. It just plods along. I was kind of disappointed. Midwinter Break is in theaters everywhere. Director Polly Finley, I don't know, maybe we needed a shootout or something. No, I'm kidding. We didn't need more killing, but we did need something a little more than what we got from Midwinter Break, which was apparently adapted for the screen in part from the writer of the original novel, Bernard McLaverty. I don't know.
All right, moving on, Michael. What else do you have?
Change of pace for you, Mark. Epic. Elvis Presley in concert. Now, the Aussie director Baz Luhrmann did Elvis, that biopic about the King of Rock, and it did focus in large part, certainly in the latter part of it, on Elvis's stint in residency in Las Vegas, as he, kind of put on a little weight, had, I would call it a mink-lined cage, this open-ended Vegas residency years into the King's career. And this movie, Epic, has archival footage, concert footage, interview footage from that period, and it's all been refurbished, I assume, by Weta, Peter Jackson's computer animation and special effects company. It looks beautiful. It's pristine, and you see Elvis Presley, the grand old man of rock at that point, although not that old, at the height of his powers, controlling the band, singing, joking, interacting. But you see the sadness as he realizes that Colonel Tom Parker, his manager, and other people in the background have kind of locked him into this place where he's going to end up eventually, withering away. He died while still in that particular mode of his life. And he was still charting strong. Suspicious Minds was a big hit for Elvis at that point.
Sure.
And he still had incredible charisma. You see the love from the middle-aged women, the young women, everybody in the audience at these Vegas shows. You know, you could see how much they adored Elvis. One of the sad parts about this, and he knew that there was a changing rock scene. He started covering Beatles compositions, and he paid attention. But he aspired to perform on the world stage, and he was so locked into this Vegas thing that he was never going to play outside the U.S. I don't believe he ever performed outside of the United States. We're talking about,
and the reason for that was largely because of Colonel Tom Parker, isn't that right? He couldn't leave the country. Parker.
So there is that hint of tragedy, but I got to tell you, it's an experience, and if you want to see what the madness was about, you want to see what all the fuss was about in terms of Elvis. He was a bundle of charisma, and it's all on display, albeit in the latter part of his life.
I'd love to see this. I think it's interesting. At the time, I didn't really, I was just I was too young or whatever. He did seem like he was out of step with the scene that I was embracing personally, just speaking. Like I was more into, the emerging rock scene. He's coexisting with people like Jimi Hendrix and The Doors, you know what I mean? And the reality is, though, that now years later, I sparked to the stuff that he was doing, and I'm really intrigued. I'd love to see this. So thank you for that.
That period is a little overdone. Everything is kind of overdone. He's repeating stuff night after night, show after show. So there's a staleness that you can see creeping into things. But his personal charisma and skill is clearly on display here.
No, but I love what you're saying, which is essentially, as he had to repeat it, you're saying you can almost see the realization on his part that I'm not leaving this place. I'm not. There's a despair probably undercurrent. Is what you're suggesting.
So. That's why I said mink-lined cage. I really think that.
I know that is so good. That's why you're a great writer. Now, moving on, please.
Okay, so my favorite film of the week, and I thought that had merit as a documentary. It's in limited release, by the way, the Elvis thing, is Redux. I mean, we've seen multiverse stories on film, such as those depicted in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's a major new saga kicking off this December upon the release of Avengers Doomsday. And it's not all just superhero fare. Oscar winner Everything Everywhere All at Once was also about multiple realities impacting ordinary people. And now we have this imaginative indie film titled Redux, and it approaches the concept in a particularly dark and daring way, as a grieving but resourceful mother named Irene Kelly uses multiverse travel for vengeance by going from one alternate Earth after another and repeatedly executing versions of the man who murdered her daughter. So on one of these Earths, Irene finds herself rescuing Mia, a runaway teenage girl, from the killer's clutches. And the headstrong Mia kind of complicates Irene's seemingly endless mission. This thing is written and directed by filmmaking brothers. Yes, another filmmaking brother team. Kevin McManus and Matthew McManus. Redux has genuine emotional power amid the science fiction trappings that they become kind of secondary to Irene's pain and the omnipresent feeling of loss and the serious jeopardy she and Mia are in. Michaela McManus, who you may recognize from Law and Order SVU, is amazing as Irene. And as it happens, she is the sister of the McManus boys, but it's hard to imagine anybody being better in the role of Irene. You also get a fine performance by newcomer Stella Marcus as Mia. Redux kicked ass. It is in select theaters. And I do believe it will play well at home, but it's the kind of movie I like people to support in the movie theaters. It's
wow, you really liked it. Look at that.
I did. Let's zip through these last few. And one of the other great films that I'm going to talk about this week is Kukuhu. Kukuhu is a prestige drama, kind of lengthy, at 2 hours and 54, something like that. 2 hours and 45 minutes, we'll say. And it's all about a kid, a 14-year-old, who is the son of a Yakuza gang leader who he witnesses getting shot. And this kid has a passion for kabuki. And as it happens, kabuki theater had banned women for many, many years. And there was a style of acting called onagata, wherein men played the women's roles. And this 14-year-old kid shows a real facility for this. He's now fatherless, and he ends up becoming mentored by a master of the kabuki theater, played by a pretty familiar actor to American audiences, that being the great Ken Watanabe. He plays Sanjiro Hanai. And Hanai has a son who he's also mentoring to become a great onagata performer. So these two young men of the same age kind of bond in a brotherly way, but there's a little bit of competition as well, as they are both kind of developing their skills to play the female roles in these kabuki theater performances. It's a beautiful, beautiful film, and it shows what's required to truly be great at a specific craft. And it starts in Nagasaki back in 1964, and it goes all the way into the 2000s as we follow the career of this kid, Kikuo, and his relationship to his mentor and the mentor's son. Incredibly potent film directed by Lee Sang-il, and great performances by the leads, including Ryo Yoshizawa, who plays Kiko, and Ryushi Yokohama, who plays Shinsuke, the other young man who he becomes kind of fraternal with, but also competitive with. This movie is, I think it's in limited theaters right now. You can see it when you can find it, I guess. And if you only see it at home, it's still going to be great on home video. But it's a beautiful thing to immerse yourself in a movie theater. I hope your city has a theater where it's playing. And finally, because we want to wrap up, one more foreign film and another one from Asia, Blades of the Guardians. Blades of the Guardians is sheer action fun. It is nonstop fun, nonstop action. It's about 2 hours plus, and it is basically about, it's set back in the day, you know, when wuxia films were made. Wuxia is a Chinese term that refers to martial arts and literary and cinematic stories that focus on heroic figures. And so a lot of them have this kind of period nature, but this is like good of kind, as they say. Directed by Wu Pingyun, Blades of the Guardians features a number of superstars from China, including in various roles Jet Li and the great Tony Leung, but the star playing the roving do-gooder, a guy by the name of Dao Ma, the second most wanted fugitive, is played by Jing Wu. And God, it's so much fun. He is trying to escort some spiritual leader to safety, and everybody's after him and the spiritual leader. They're both like wanted men. So there are battles galore. They're incredibly choreographed. It's just a hell of a lot of fun. And yes, like the previous film, there are subtitles for those of you who don't speak, in one case, Japanese, and in this case, Chinese, but I don't care. A great movie is a great movie. And this is what one of the things movies are supposed to be: fun escapism. And that's what you got here.
Wow. I have not heard the Culture Blaster so enthusiastically embrace a title like this the way he has. This action film, Blades of the Guardians. He has me excited about seeing it. It is in select theaters.
It's not the best of the genre, but, you know, it was like a tonic, you know?
Don't qualify your review. I thought it was quite enthusiastic, but I appreciate the specificity with which you follow up.
All right, then. Hit your dinger for specificity. Hit your dinger.
Kakuho is the offering at 2 hours and 45 minutes that features a 14-year-old who is son to a gang leader who he witnesses being shot.
Well, stabbed.
As a fan of kabuki theater, he embraces that fandom at the feet of a mentor who is the master of kabuki, Ken Watanabe. And the two apparently go into the transformation associated with kabuki, and it's a wonderful thing to see. He called it beautiful, immersive, and quite special. It is, even at its length, 2 hours and 45 minutes, a full recommendation from the Culture Blaster.
Yeah. And
Redux
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
yeah. No, I was going to say the son of the master and this sort of adopted son who ends up becoming, or aspiring to be the greatest kabuki performer. They have this kind of rivalry. It really is worth checking out. Anyway,
Redux is the piece done by the McManus brothers and the sister of the McManus brothers. I forget her first name. What is her name?
the McManus sisters, Michaela.
Michaela. They make a movie that Michael really liked it. It involves this rescuing of this Mia, who's this sort of a combative 14-year-old. Is that right? I think so.
It's about a woman trying to avenge the death of her daughter by going from alternate Earth to alternate Earth.
Oh, I'm sorry. Redux. Yeah, you loved it. It's right. Alternate Earth. Oh, but isn't rescuing Mia part of it?
Well, she encounters and rescues Mia on one of these alternate Earths, and then the kid starts tagging along with her. Hey, look, dude, it's not your typical sci-fi movie. It really had a lot of emotional weight. I really thought it was.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just a straight shoot 'em up.
No, hell no. This is a woman who's lost her child and is.
Well, you say hell no. The movie poster has her holding a sawed-off shotgun.
Hey, you got
sorry
product,
for me
Mark.
jumping to that conclusion.
This is so ridiculous.
I don't know.
Why are you yelling?
All right.
They're selling the product to the NRA here. Come on.
All right. Okay. Anyway, that's Redux. He liked it for the heart it has, and apparently the shotgun is just small part of it. Epic Elvis Presley in concert shows the vintage of Elvis toward the end of his life, but in full resplendent power over those who worshipped him. But, and this is perhaps the most intriguing thing that I was taking in with the review, you see on some level, maybe it's subtle, the reality that's settling into Elvis. That is the idea that he's limiting his scope. He'll never be, outside this country performing. And on some level, this Vegas world is really the world where he'll sort of be limited. And so that sounds really intriguing to me. And I'm also really anxious to see this. So it's called Epic Elvis Presley in Concert. That's in select theaters, Michael Snyder?
Indeed. And I do believe you can see it in IMAX this first week.
Midwinter Break is the Leslie Manville movie with Kieran Hines. Brilliant performances. And apparently the performances are so great that it makes the movie, which is disappointing, sort of a question mark. Like, he said no juice in the movie. Like, you're going through this and it just feels plodding. He cannot recommend Midwinter Break. And firstly, he reviewed How to Make a Killing, the Glenn Powell film from the director of Emily the Criminal, Margaret Qualley, Ed Harris. There are a bunch of people in it. It's a big movie. It's intriguing. It's a remake, Michael says, of a film from the 40s, from the late 40s. Isn't that right?
Yes, the very late 40s, and a great film, one that is crucial in film history.
Eileen says, didn't Alec Guinness play all 8 parts in Kind Hearts and Coronets?
I actually said that earlier in the segment.
Well, there you go. Eileen was paying attention to you and was reiterating it.
Remarkable, Eileen.
Yes. Elvis is working in a car wash in Australia right now, just down the road from me, says Glenn. Isn't that great? Because he never did die, wait. Michael. That is the point.
Oh, my God, Glenn. Is that Glenn Powell? Hey, dude.
Thank you for the review on How to Make a Killing. You liked it, but you'd say maybe it'll be something that'll play well on video and streaming. Michael, you have done...
I wanted more.
The Lord's work today by
you.
Just being here and providing those comprehensive reviews. If you want to find Michael, and the written word is where he really excels. If you think he's great here, you have to read his musings. You can do that at thevoicesf.org. Thevoicesf.org.
Brand new column up right now about 3 Los Angeles-based projects, including the wonderful Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, I guess Crime 101, and the superb miniseries Wonder Man, all set in Los Angeles and all benefiting from the setting. And I guess I will be back next Friday with you, Mr. Thompson. And until then, I wish you and the Remarkables a lovely weekend and a great week ahead.
I love it when you wish me a good week ahead. It gives me a bounce in my step. He comes and goes on a rainbow. The great culture blaster, Michael Snyder, everyone. I'm loving it. Thank you, Michael, and bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We are finishing up. I will tell you that well, Albert, you can tell me what I need to do if there's something we need to attend to before the end of the show, but I will tell you that I'm going to talk to David Katz in a moment, and we'll drop it as a separate video. David's probably the greatest legal analyst in the English-speaking world, and he will join us in just a few minutes, and I'll record that and then promptly turn it around, and you'll be able to see it on our channel. Anything else, Albert?
This is the last comment, but then we've covered everything else.
The gal who didn't take the money from China will more than make up for it with the advertising payments. Well, Agolf, I hope you are right. Evil tends to get all the money. I hate to say it. But righteousness has its own virtues. But if you're looking for the virtues to have money associated with them, not always the case. Phineas, yes, we got a triple Katz. How about that?
It's like a triple Lutz. Like
it's like a triple Lutz. Very. He's the gold medal winner for the day. It has been a great week. We've covered a lot of stuff, and we'll continue to follow developments in the Middle East with a likely military flex coming in Iran that could be a bit on the uncontrollable side, as we've spoken of earlier in the show. Check out our Facebook page. It's our newest offering to you. Facebook is really brand new. I don't know if many people are familiar with it, but it's... we're kind of early adopters of Facebook on this show, but it's what all the kids who are 45 years old are doing. So please jump on. How do you get there, Albert? New face,
Facebook.com/The Mark Thompson Show.
Facebook.com/The Mark Thompson Show. We'll have a link to it in the show description. Albert, thank you. It's been a great week. We will see you next week.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the love, everybody. Thanks for sharing the show and all the ways you support us.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Out of time. Been fun. Till Monday. Bye-bye.